I think one of the underrated aspects of Star Wars is the architecture. We get to see lots of iconic structures inside of the Star Wars universe, but in this video I want to focus on Imperial Bases and Strongholds. Starting off with the Raven's Peak, otherwise known as Tarkin's compound on his homeworld of Eriadu, where Tarkin is basically royalty. Apart from the landing bay, the only other access point to the facility was the Skyrail line, and the rail station also doubled as a starfighter depot and was more or less a ski lift to the top of the mountain, where the command tower was the main focus of the facility, in the heavily fortified conference room located directly on top of the mountain peak, and the peak itself was being used as a centerpiece for the conference table, and this was of course the place where the Tarkin initiative was planned out. Certainly a cool Imperial base. I definitely like just the mountainous background that Tarkin's compound has, and it's definitely an intimidating look and one of many Imperial bases. Up next is one of my personal favorites, the Citadel Tower of the Imperial Center of Military Research on Scarif. Scarif Tower housed a data tape vault which contained the plans of multiple top secret Imperial projects, such as structural plans for the planet-killing battle station known as the Death Star, and of course we all know the Citadel Tower was destroyed by the Death Star, which was one of the first places where the Death Star was tested. The Citadel Tower definitely gets away from Imperial brutalism architecture, and this one has a more sleek design to it, and I definitely just overall enjoy the way it looks over Scarif Beach and on the planet Scarif as it is erected from Scarif. Interestingly enough, the construction of Scarif Tower and the Imperial base started sometime after the first Battle of Geonosis, which means the Empire was planning this long before the end of the Clone Wars. Next up on the planet Nur is Fortress Inquisitorius, which was a heavily armored underwater stronghold concealed within the Black Seas of the shadowy moon of Nur. The stronghold served as the central seat of the Imperial Inquisitor Program. The existence of the fortress was hidden from the majority of the Empire to maintain the public perception of peace and security, but in reality, this is where the Empire took Jedi they captured and turned them to the dark side by brutal torture and turning them into Inquisitors. And the fortress itself was mostly below sea level with just the top spire coming out. It was also known as the Citadel Tower as well. But nonetheless, Fortress Inquisitorius is certainly an interesting Imperial fortress. This next Imperial structure isn't so much a fortress, but a prison, Narkina 5, which was a small water moon that orbited the gas giant of Narkina, and the Galactic Empire maintained a prison complex there, with each prison cylinder having a capacity of 5,000 inmates, and of course this is where they were building components for the Death Star. I definitely like the idea of Imperial prisons being far off, as I can't find Narkina 5 on the Star Wars galaxy map, which is how it should be. We shouldn't know where the Imperial prisons are, but I definitely think the structure of how these Imperial prisons work, with them being deep into the sea on Narkina, is certainly interesting. I was looking to see if the prison itself had any other capabilities besides just holding prisoners, like if they were harvesting water for energy or electricity or anything like that, but I couldn't find anything for Narkina 5 that was definitive. But I do like that the prison itself is in the shape of the Imperial logo, giving it a more intimidating look, and of course there are multiple prison complexes on the water moon. The final Imperial structure is Vader's Castle, otherwise known as Fortress Vader, a stronghold located on the volcanic world of Mustafar, once on the site of a Sith temple. And the complex location and design came from much of the dark side of the Force, as it did Vader's personal experience on Mustafar, as it was meant to harvest dark side energy. Certainly a cool fortress for Darth Vader, and with it being on Mustafar adds multiple layers to the fortress's background and lore. But Fortress Vader certainly has that intimidating look, and of course with it being on Mustafar, it just adds to the overall Sith and dark side elements that makes up Fortress Vader. And finally, to end this video, I wanted to show you where these fortresses are inside the Star Wars galaxy. Of course, the Mustafar system houses Vader's castle and Fortress Inquisitorius. Not too far away is Eriadu, where Raven's Peak is located among multiple trade routes, giving it a good intersection point and a good Imperial stronghold as well. And then Scarif is a little bit more outside in the outer rim, kind of in the outer stretches, but it makes sense as the Imperials wanted to have their Imperial military research base far away from the Rebellion's eyes. And then Narkina 5 I'll just place randomly because I don't know where it's located, but it's very cool to see all these fortresses in the Star Wars universe and what Imperial structures and bases and how their architecture comes to life and where they are located across the galaxy, kind of giving us an image of what the Empire actually looks like. So with that, those are 5 Imperial bases all across the galaxy. Subscribe if you would like, and until next video, goodbye.